From the outside, it may seem so simple. Just a woman living her life in quiet peace. But here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. When a chosen woman decides to live alone, she stops being just a woman in their eyes. She becomes a mirror, a living reflection of everything they secretly fear, silently envy, and will never fully understand. Her independence is not loneliness. It is a force, a current of divine strength flowing through her veins, and that force shakes the ground beneath the feet of anyone who survives on control, dependency, or the fragile comfort of conformity. They can't contain her, they can't predict her, and deep down, they know they cannot break her. If you are hearing this right now, it's because you were meant to. Before we continue, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment 99 below. Because 99 is the number of divine completion before the shepherd comes for the one who is missing. And today, that missing one might just be you. They look at her and they can't wrap their minds around it. No safety net, no hidden provider, no secret partner paying the bills behind the scenes. Every single thing she has, every light in her home, every meal on her table, every roof over her head, comes from her own hands, her own decisions, her own prayers. To them, it's unnatural. To her, it's the only way she knows how to live. They were taught that a woman's survival must hinge on someone else's provision, that she must be tethered to a man, a family, or a system to stay afloat. But she has broken that mold entirely. She has tasted the freedom of standing on her own feet, and she refuses to crawl back to the chains they call security. What they don't understand is that her self-sufficiency isn't arrogance. It's a covenant between her and God, one that says, "I will trust you above all else." When she wakes up in the morning, she doesn't panic over who will solve her problems. She knows the one who equips her for every battle, the one who drops ideas into her mind, who opens doors that money can't buy. And because she relies on this unseen source, she doesn't fear the loss of earthly sources. Her bank account may fluctuate, but her faith remains unshaken. This terrifies people in ways they can't articulate, because deep down, they sense that her strength is not humanly explainable. They can't control someone who has no strings to pull. They can't guilt-trip someone who doesn't owe them anything. They can't threaten to take away what they never provided in the first place. Self-sufficiency has given her something rare in this world: unbought freedom. She doesn't have to say yes to toxic invitations. She doesn't have to tolerate disrespect to keep a roof over her head. She doesn't have to shrink herself to make others feel powerful. She can walk away from any situation at any time, and that possibility alone sends shivers down the spines of those who rely on dependency to feel superior. They whisper behind her back, "She thinks she's too good for everyone now." No, she knows her worth, and worth is the one currency that can't be forged, stolen, or loaned. Her life is living proof that strength and provision can come directly from God and from within. She is a lighthouse, standing on her own rock, not swaying with the tides, and visible from miles away. And you know what happens when light stands tall in the darkness? Moths, predators, and lost ships all take notice. Her self-sufficiency isn't just a lifestyle, it's a shield. Every choice she makes without begging for permission is a reminder to the world that she is untouchable in ways money, beauty, or status could never buy. She has built her life brick by brick, prayer by prayer, and no one can knock it down without facing the builder himself. And here's the twist they never see coming. Her independence is not the absence of support. It's the evidence of supernatural backing. She is never truly alone because the God who called her to stand alone is the same God who fights for her in silence. And the more they try to figure out how she does it, the more they expose the truth they fear most, that they could never control her, because she was never theirs to control. Now, let that sink in. Because if you think her independence is the whole story, you haven't even begun to see the deeper force that makes her untouchable. And in the next part, you'll understand why her very spirit slips through the fingers of those who try to grasp it. They try the same tricks they've always used on others. The guilt trips, the silent treatments, the exaggerated sob stories designed to make her feel responsible for someone else's comfort or chaos. But when they aim those arrows at her, they watch them fall to the ground, harmless, like rubber weapons hitting a fortress wall. Because here's the truth. She's not desperate for approval. She's not starving for company. She's not waiting for someone to rescue her financially or emotionally. The usual bait doesn't work on her because she's not hungry for the things they're selling. People who thrive on control, who have built their lives on pulling strings and moving pawns, feel an unsettling emptiness when they realize they can't move her. They expect a reaction, panic, tears, fear of abandonment. Instead, they get calm, silence, a steady gaze that says without words, "You don't hold the keys to my peace." And that terrifies them. Manipulation feeds on need. It needs you to crave something so badly that you'll trade your dignity for it. But she doesn't barter with her worth. She doesn't compromise her boundaries to keep someone in her life. The moment she senses strings being attached, she cuts them, clean and without hesitation. It's not coldness, it's clarity. And that clarity is lethal to those whose power depends on confusion and control. They will test her. They will withhold affection to see if she chases it. They will dangle false opportunities to see if she bends. They will paint her as ungrateful when she doesn't play along. But she has learned the art of spiritual discernment. She recognizes the difference between love and leverage. She knows that real connection doesn't come with a leash, and the moment someone tries to pull one around her neck, she walks away, unshaken, unchained. This makes her dangerous in the eyes of manipulators, because once someone realizes they can't be controlled, they become unpredictable to those who rely on predictability to dominate. How do you corner someone who can live without your validation? How do you threaten someone who doesn't fear loss? How do you weaken someone whose identity isn't up for negotiation? The answer is, you can't. And that powerlessness infuriates them. But there's a deeper reason manipulation fails on her. It's because she's already been through the fire. At some point in her life, she's been lied to, betrayed, or taken advantage of by people she once trusted. And instead of letting it destroy her, she let it educate her. Every lesson became armor. Every heartbreak became a sharpened sword. She's not bitter, she's watchful. And that watchfulness makes her immune to the traps that catch others off guard. Some whisper that she's too guarded or too suspicious. But they mistake discernment for distrust. She doesn't live in paranoia. She lives in wisdom. And wisdom tells her that not everyone who smiles has good intentions, and not every helping hand is free of chains. She weighs every word, every action, every offer against the light of truth. And if it doesn't align, she doesn't align with it. This is why people who once thought they could mold her now avoid her. They sense something they can't overpower. A mind that thinks for itself. A spirit that kneels only to God. A heart that refuses to be bribed with cheap affection or hollow promises. She knows the cost of losing herself, and it's a price she'll never pay again. And so, when manipulators see her, they see the end of their influence. And nothing unsettles a controller more than the moment they realize their grip is slipping, and no matter how hard they squeeze, she will never be theirs to hold. But here's the thing. They still haven't grasped the most dangerous part. Because her resistance to manipulation is only the surface. Beneath that is a deeper, unshakable truth. One that not only frees her from their control, but also exposes their own hidden chains. And in the next part, you'll see why her very presence forces their darkness into the light. In a world that still clings, often silently, sometimes loudly, to the belief that a woman's value is measured by her proximity to a man, a household, or a family name. She is a walking disruption. Entire traditions, unspoken rules, and generational expectations crumble in her presence. People may not say it out loud, but they think it. She should have settled down by now. She should have a husband. She should have children. She should be less. They want her life to fit neatly inside the boxes they've been trained to believe in, but she refuses to shrink to fit a box she never asked for. Her worth does not come with a ring attached. It is not validated by a legal document, a shared last name, or the applause of an audience who believes only certain life paths are acceptable. She carries herself as if she has already been chosen, because she has. Chosen by God, chosen by purpose, chosen by the calling that overrides every cultural script written for her. And every time she walks into a room unapologetically herself, she disrupts the rhythm of that script. You see, for centuries, women who didn't follow the expected path were labeled with every name but the truth. They were called rebellious, selfish, broken. But the truth is, she isn't any of those things. She's simply free. Free from the need to perform for approval. Free from the idea that her destiny must be tied to someone else's. Free from the silent contract that says, conform and you'll be accepted. Deviate and you'll be punished. What they don't understand is that her choice to live outside those boundaries isn't a rejection of love, family, or partnership. It's a refusal to trade her divine assignment for a role she was never meant to play. She isn't avoiding life. She's living it in its fullest form. Her value is not potential waiting to be unlocked by someone else's presence. Her value is active, burning, and undeniable, right now, as she is. This frightens people for reasons they don't always comprehend. Because if she can live a full, meaningful, and abundant life without following the approved path, it means the system itself is flawed. It means the story they were told about what makes life meaningful might be a lie. And deep down, they fear that truth. Because if her way works, their excuses don't. When people can't control you, they often try to control the narrative about you. They'll call her intimidating. They'll say she's too much. They'll whisper that she must be lonely, bitter, or incomplete. But these are projections, shadows cast by their own discomfort. Because her life is proof that joy, purpose, and fulfillment can exist without the cultural checkpoints they worship. And here's where the danger lies for those who uphold the old ways. She is an example. Other women see her and start to ask dangerous questions. What if I could live like that? What if I didn't have to settle? What if my worth was mine to define? And questions like that? They spread. They take root. They start revolutions in quiet hearts before they bloom in public lives. She is not against love. She is not against unity. She is against chains. Chains wrapped in tradition, coated in expectation, disguised as love. And she knows that breaking free from them will cost her something. Approval, acceptance, maybe even relationships. But she has already decided that her peace is worth more than their applause. This is why her mere existence is a challenge to the system. It's not just that she lives differently, it's that she thrives differently. And thriving outside the lines makes those who never dared to step out feel exposed. But the most unsettling thing for them? She doesn't just live this way in silence. Her presence, her confidence, her unapologetic authenticity. It all sends a ripple through the world around her, making others question what else in their lives was built on expectations rather than truth. And in the next part, we'll go even deeper, into the sacred territory she guards more fiercely than anything else. The space where her real power resides. and where no unwanted presence is allowed to enter. Her home is not just a place where she sleeps. It is a sacred realm, a living extension of her soul. Every corner carries her energy, every object tells a story, and every inch is guarded with a vigilance that few can comprehend. To her, this is not about paranoia, it's about preservation. She knows that energy is the most valuable currency she has, and once it's drained, no amount of money, beauty, or talent can instantly replenish it. That's why she guards it like a fortress, because she understands that not everyone comes into your space to bless it. Some come to drain it. In a world where people are addicted to constant access, text messages answered in seconds, social media updates available 24/7, open-door friendships that allow anyone to walk in without notice, she is an anomaly. She does not give automatic access to her time, her presence, or her energy. To enter her home, you must carry more than a smile. You must carry the right spirit. And to be allowed into her emotional space, you must prove that your presence will not cost her more than it gives. This boundary keeping confuses and even intimidates people who are used to having unrestricted access to others. They are accustomed to knocking and being let in without question, to speaking and being instantly heard, to demanding time and receiving it without resistance. But she doesn't play by those rules. If you come to her with gossip, with drama, with manipulation disguised as concern, you will find her gates closed and her silence unwavering. Some will call her distant or unavailable. But the truth is that she is deeply present, just not for everyone. She knows the weight of constant exposure, and she refuses to live under it. Her sanctuary is not built for crowds. It is built for peace, for alignment, for divine conversation. She has turned her home into a place where her spirit can breathe, where her mind can reset, and where her heart can listen to God without interference. And it's not just about her physical space. She guards her conversations. She decides whose voice gets to echo in her ears. She chooses whose energy she will absorb and whose presence she will allow to shape her day. To the untrained eye, this looks like isolation. But in truth, it is intentional living. She knows that the wrong words at the wrong time can derail an entire week, and she refuses to let just anyone plant seeds in her mind. People who thrive on chaos cannot stand this level of control over one's environment. They will try to guilt her into opening her door wider, try to shame her into answering calls she doesn't want to take, try to convince her that saying no is unkind. But she knows the truth. Protecting her peace is the most loving thing she can do for herself and for those who truly value her. Because when her energy is full, she gives better, loves deeper, and creates more powerfully. She has learned that not everyone who wants to be near you should be near you. Some people are drawn to your light simply because they live in darkness. And while her compassion is great, she knows she is not called to be a constant host to shadows. She can guide, she can inspire, but she will not allow herself to be consumed. Every time she closes a door, every time she lets a call go unanswered, every time she sets a boundary that others don't like, she is reinforcing the walls of her fortress. And those walls are not built out of fear. They are built out of love. Love for her own soul. Love for her own calling. Love for the life she is building without interference. But there's something more. Something people rarely see. Those who do earn her trust. Those she invites inside. Those who are allowed to linger in her presence. They know they've entered holy ground. They understand that her yes is rare, and that makes it precious. And it is this rarity, this sacred selectiveness, that makes her even more magnetic to the world outside her walls. Because here's the thing. When you can't have something easily, you want it more. And when they realize her energy is not theirs to take, her presence becomes something they crave, but can't demand. And in the next part, we'll uncover the mysterious, unspoken force that keeps them both captivated and unsettled. The very aura that follows her everywhere she goes, even beyond the walls of her sanctuary. There is something about her that refuses to be decoded. People watch her from a distance, thinking that if they observe long enough, they'll figure her out, how she manages to move through life with such unshakable peace, why she seems immune to the storms that break others, what invisible force keeps pushing her forward even when the path isn't clear. They study her habits, her silence, her decisions, but the more they watch, the less they understand. And that is where the mystery begins to unsettle them. It's not just what she does, it's the way she does it. She can walk into a room without saying a word, and yet the atmosphere shifts. Conversations falter, eyes follow her, and a strange tension fills the space. She doesn't try to draw attention, but her presence demands it. People are left wondering, who is she really? What's her story? But here's the truth. They will never know all of it, because she was never meant to be fully known by everyone. Her life is a divine blueprint, and not every page is for public reading. She doesn't rush to explain herself. She doesn't broadcast every plan, every struggle, every victory. And that alone confuses a world obsessed with oversharing. They're used to people laying their lives out on display for validation, but she keeps the most sacred parts of hers hidden, locked away, where only God can see. And because of that, every move she makes feels intentional, even when no one understands it in the moment. This aura of mystery is not accidental. It's protection. She knows that exposure can attract the wrong eyes, the wrong motives, the wrong spirits. So she reveals only what serves her mission, never what compromises it. This frustrates those who want to feel in control by knowing everything about her. They crave access not because they care, but because knowledge is a form of power, and she refuses to hand that power over. Her purpose radiates from her in ways she's not even trying to control. It's in her posture, in the calmness with which she handles chaos, in the way she chooses battles that matter and walks away from those that don't. People can feel that she's not just living, she's being led, and that terrifies those who have no compass of their own, because it reminds them of what they're missing. They gossip, they speculate, they invent stories to explain her life. Some say she's hiding something, others say she's lucky, and a few whisper that maybe she's connected to something otherworldly. What they don't realize is that they're right. She is connected to something beyond their comprehension. Her steps are ordered. Her timing is divine. Her path was written long before they ever tried to understand it. But mystery has another effect. It attracts. Even those who don't like her can't seem to look away. Something in them wants to know what she knows, feel what she feels, walk with the same certainty she walks with. They don't understand that it's not a confidence built on ego. It's the quiet strength of someone who knows exactly whose hands she's in. And here's the part that keeps them restless. She doesn't seek their approval, yet she earns their respect. She doesn't fight for attention, yet she commands it. She doesn't try to prove her worth, yet they sense it every time she's near. This is what makes her so untouchable. She is moved by purpose, not by pressure. And deep down, they know they can't touch her path because it's not theirs to walk. They could mimic her style, copy her words, even try to mirror her lifestyle, but they would still miss the essence, because the source of her power is invisible. It's not in what she owns, or who she knows, or what she's done. It's in the alignment between her spirit and her creator. That's why they talk. That's why they guess. That's why they sometimes fear her. Because in a world that loves to label, box in, and dissect people, she remains an open question they can't answer. And nothing makes people more uneasy than the unanswered. But what they don't realize is that the very thing they can't define is the thing that keeps her unstoppable. And in the conclusion, You'll see exactly why this combination of independence, resistance, defiance of norms, guarded peace, and unshakable purpose turns her from just a woman into a force that changes the atmosphere everywhere she goes, and why those who fear her can never silence her. A chosen woman who lives alone is never truly alone. Her walls echo with purpose, her steps are guided by the Almighty, and her heart rests in a peace the world cannot steal. She moves through life not to entertain the crowd, not to conform to their scripts, but to fulfill a calling that was written for her before she even took her first breath. And that kind of freedom? It is dangerous to those still trapped in cages they built for themselves, cages they guard but secretly hate. Understand this. Your strength will always feel like a threat to those who depend on your weakness. Your light will always be too bright for eyes that have adjusted to the dark. They will call you intimidating to hide the truth. It is not you who intimidates. It is their own smallness, reflected back to them in the mirror of your courage. So to every woman listening right now, stand firm, refuse to bow. Walk into every room as if heaven itself just announced your arrival. Protect your fire, guard your peace, and let every step you take remind the world that you cannot be owned, dimmed, or silenced. They will talk. Let them. They will guess. Let them. They will fear. Let them. Because your mission was never to make them comfortable, your mission is to shake the ground they thought was unshakable. If these words have ignited something inside you, declare it now in the comments. I am untouchable. Let heaven see it, let hell hear it, and let your own soul remember it. You are not intimidating. They are intimidated. Stand firm, walk tall, and let your light unsettle the darkness.